Hello everyone, welcome back to another cruise. Have a 5-day work week this week. Normally I work 4, so get an extra podcast this week. Before we get into it, just wanted to say if there's any topics that you want my opinion or take on, feel free to comment. If you disagree with anything I say, love to hear your take on it and why you disagree. Also, if you would, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button or the notification bell. Give us a like in the videos if you like what you see. If not, give me a thumbs down. I got a thick enough skin I can take it. So anyway, a couple days ago, I want to say it was one of the earlier podcasts that we did, I was talking about disagree with people but don't disparage them. That was the topic, I believe. So I kind of want to give what, in my opinion, is a potential of something that you could do that would potentially help that. In today's age of internet connectivity, chat rooms, forums, and social media sites of every nature, from random chat rooms, hookup chats, web forums concerning literally any topic, I'm not going to go on that. You get the idea. But with all those things available, it is super easy to have a very one-dimensional connection with people. And not that there's anything wrong with that. There's Facebook groups that I'm in for various things that are, it's interesting to talk to the people that are there. It's helpful at times to talk to the people that are there. But on the flip side of that, it's very easy to fill in the blanks on that person. Oh, well, they're in this Facebook group, they're a lot like me, or they're in this other group, or whatever. Well, anyway, people are very multidimensional, multifaceted beings. Like, I could be in a group concerning vehicle interests, buy, sell, trade, tech tips, help, whatever, and be completely uninterested in anything else that the other members of the group are interested in. But because I'm interested in that specific common thread, it's very easy for them to fill in the blanks with me. Well, since they don't know all, and then, okay, suppose I'm a member of a different group on Facebook that is something that they're uninterested in or even opposed to. It's very easy for them it would be very easy for that same person to put me in the other category, where, oh, well, he's part of this group, must be, one of those bitter clingers, or something of that nature. Or must not care about unborn babies. Okay. Well, my opinion, people, especially if they educate themselves on an issue to a point, they got a right to their opinion. If you've consumed information and educated yourself and have thought things through even a little bit beyond just listening to a narrative from one point of view or another, you got a right to your opinion. You've thought this through to a point, you've earned your keep. By the way, I apologize for any of the noise. It's raining today. So that brings me up to a topic, or to today's topic. Know your neighbor. Leave them alone. And here's where I came up with this idea. It's very easy, even though you might know more people through social media and the internet, you know them less well. So, I used to live in a older house that was in an older residential area that the neighbors on either side had turned into businesses. There was a local store right next door, non-franchise, just a local city store. And then on the other side, there was a office building that over the years was numerous things. We had a office over there that dealt with insurance claims and things of that nature. We had an office over there that did music lessons for all age ranges and all types of instruments, including vocal lessons. Also had a real estate office, and the guy that ran the real estate office actually bought the house specifically to live in the basement of, because he needed a place for his office. It was just him, and he didn't need to keep a office building in a house, so he downsized a little bit at that point in his life. Well, the last neighbor that we had during the time I lived in that house, I think they were a civil engineer and survey company. On the opposite side of the house as well, where that local shop was, we also had a small apartment complex that was owned by the same guy that owned the store. Well, where the basic idea where I want to go with this is the neighbors that we had while we lived there. And that's just one house over, not 2-3 buildings down, and we knew quite a few of our neighbors, including across this rather busy street. But we knew all of them. There was one woman that very much enjoyed her evening walks in the summertime after the sun went down and the heat became more tolerable. She would walk, I guess, at least a mile, in all seriousness, up and down the sidewalk of this street. There was another neighbor that she lived there with her son. She was an elderly woman. Her and my mother became great friends over the years. And we also knew their family during the time that we lived there. We would swap out all sorts of stuff over the years, need a cup of flour, things like that. There was several neighbors in those apartments. They were rather small, one-bedroom efficiency style apartments, so they were very cheap, but there were a ton of people that moved in and out of there over the years that were pretty decent folks to hang around. One guy appointed my dad his power of attorney when he fell ill. That's how well we knew him. I mean, we'd have him over to cookouts and things like that. And that there was another couple that the husband was military. They had a house in Alabama, and they rented this apartment just as a cheap place to stay because they didn't want to stay on base. There was another older gentleman that lived in one of those apartments. He was, I'm trying to think of a word to use to describe this guy. He, was probably one of the more weird hippies I've ever known. And I don't say like today's hippie. This dude was, out of the 50s, 60s era hippies, and he was an older guy. We even had a drug dealer that lived over in one of those apartments. And there's a bunch of funny stories about that. But where I'm going with all this is 2-3 of those neighbors I've helped cut their grass in the summertime when they needed my help. The business that was next door that had the music studio there, I taught one of the music classes, intro into percussion, as far as keeping time and stuff for young kids. Knew one of the woman that walked up till the day she died. The woman that had her son living with her. Her and my mother became great friends over the years. They do a lot of shopping together. And also my mom would go over there and play cards with her all the time. We had the real estate office. That gentleman, he'd come over. We'd have potlucks and cookouts during the summer. He'd come over. One time when he actually ended up moving, I car sat for him for a week. Just logistically, he couldn't take both of his vehicles with him. And he left his vehicle in my driveway, and he said, if at any point you need to use it, just drive it. I'm like, well, I don't really need to be driving your car, just park it here so I'm not boxed in. He intentionally boxed me in so I drive his car. That's just Mr. Wilson. He wasn't going to inconvenience me without keeping miles off my car. Shouldn't have said his name. It's common enough. Had a bunch of people over for dinner over the years that we got close to. The interesting thing, though, is there were, out of all these people, and I know I'm even missing a few because I lived in that house for over 20 years. It was my parents, and long and short, they ended up moving out when I was an adult, and I started renting it. But out of all these people that I knew that were neighbors, just on that side of the street, there was a ton of different viewpoints on a lot of issues. An absolute ton of them. Had gamblers, had people that were very anti-gambler, had smokers, had non-smokers, had former smokers that talked about how bad it was, had people of all sorts of different political opinions spanning the board. And where this podcast's going is that because we knew each other, we knew the majority of our neighbors, we were pretty fortunate. They were decent folks. They really were. And they were easy enough to get along with, by and large. So, even though there were differing opinions, we knew that they were decent enough people that we could respect their opinion and like them in spite of having a different point of view on issues. So, my point is to know your neighbors, but leave them alone. And what I mean by that, like, okay, we had our neighbors over for different things. I did business with my neighbors. I did favors for my neighbors. I'd go over and just talk to them. But when it came to their differing opinions with mine, we might have had some civil discussions, but at the end of the day, if no one's mind was changed on that, I left them alone on that topic. Like, it was something that we were amicable enough about that we could discuss it, but if everyone held their own opinion at the end of the discussion, no harm was done, the relationship was still intact. So we could, and also if it was a hot button with that particular person where, I really don't like talking about this, it gets me irritated, we could leave that alone entirely. But just because they disagreed with us, they were still our neighbors, they were still decent enough people to hang out with, to help with little odd projects or things that they needed done, even if it was just they needed to use our parking spaces a couple times a week if we had the room for it. So I guess that's about it for today, folks. Just know your neighbor, but leave them alone. Just because you disagree with them doesn't mean that can't be the doesn't mean they can't be good company and even a good friend. So, know your neighbor, but leave them alone. That's the topic for today. So, anyway, I'd like to hear your opinions on that. There's so many things going on in today's culture where people are getting blackballed from all sorts of things over different opinions. There have been people that have actually lost their banks due to their leanings and opinions on things. And I think that's just ridiculous. But anyway, I'd like to know your opinions. Again, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to know when new stuff goes up. I've got a buffer of 1 or 2 videos. My normal schedule, like I said, I'm at work 4 days a week. Most weeks, this week I got overtime, so that's why I'm putting out a 5th video. If there's anything that you want to hear about, let me know. Be more than happy to mull it over for a couple days and get back with you on my thoughts on whatever you want to ask. Till next time, folks, be safe. Oh, one last thing I wanted to ask. If the rain on this podcast is too loud, let me know and I will try to avoid doing them in the rain. Later.